You should be worried about long-term home prices depending on where you live. Let's look at this together, you and I, because it's a place that not many people look. Now, I've talked to you before about how many advanced world economies, other nations, have house prices that vastly exceed prices in the US. Canada's home prices are almost fully double that of US home prices right now. One reason is that Canada opens their doors to immigrants more widely than the US does. Well, all those immigrants create more housing demand, but double the price of a US home just right next door in Canada. Well, I've got some great stats here sourced by the Bank for International Settlements on not the international house prices this time, but how those prices have changed since 2010. Okay, so this is 2010 all the way up to the middle of last year, all inflation adjusted, so it is the real change in home prices. US property was up 63% in that time, basically about the last 12 years. Okay, that's the time frame that we're looking at all of this for today. But the US is not one of the top 10 countries for home price growth over this period, and here they are. Number one for growth is Iceland at 103%, second is Estonia, 97%, and third for world home price growth is New Zealand at 97% as well, and then Chile at 95%, Turkey 91%, Canada, the aforementioned Canada, up 90%, and then the top 10 for home price growth are rounded out by Luxembourg, Hong Kong, Hungary, and Israel. They're all between 80 and 85% inflation-adjusted price growth. So all greater than the United States, which again was up just 63% over that long period. America is the envy of the real estate world. It's not just our rule of law and high property ownership rights, it's that it's one of the few places in the world where you can lever up this much with debt and still get cash flow, and at these terrifically advantaged debt terms, long-term fixed interest rate debt. And then on the flip side now, when we look at the worst nations for price appreciation over those last 12 years, it is a story of price contraction. Prices have dropped in these nations. These five are the worst five, and see if you can guess it, what all five of these have in common. The five worst for price growth are Spain, Romania, Italy, Greece, and Russia. Russia being the worst at minus 33% inflation-adjusted house prices. Well, do you know what all five of these nations have in common? They all have something in common that's really important to their economy and to their home prices. All five nations are losing population and losing their real estate prices with them. Home prices can collapse without population growth. We'll look at that at the US level shortly and what that's projected to do. Hey, go ahead and put a like on the video if you like how I'm bringing it down here, as we're looking at international home price over the last 12 years and what we can learn from it. Take a look here too at how advanced economies like the US, Canada, and Australia have had a faster growth rate than emerging economies have, less developed nations like Indonesia and Morocco. All right, well, what about the United States? How does our population growth look for the future? Well, our growth rate, it's not as high as it used to be, but there is no sign of our population growth ending anytime soon. We are just about surpassing the 1/3 of a billion people mark now in the United States, and we are expected to have 336 million people by the end of this year. And over the next 30 years, we're expected to have a population increase from 336 million this year up to 373 million then. And the proportion from immigration is expected to increase while the proportion from the birth rate wanes. And of course, this contributes to the growing renter society in America because people have a harder time affording the entry-level home. And in much of the world, home prices are higher than they are in the US, and now you know that they're often rising at a faster rate as well. And from this perspective, US housing is actually not so expensive, and maybe even a little on the cheap side in 2023 and 2024 compared to other developed nations. I hope you find these international comparisons lessons useful, I'm Keith Weinhold. Learn more from me. Listen to the Get Rich Education podcast, and that's where you can join me every single week as I build your wealth through real estate investing over there on my audio-only show. You can even listen through the dedicated Get Rich Education mobile app for iOS and Android, completely free. I think you'll find it valuable. I'll see you next time.